because I did not test the microphones before we started. So if it's not good, let me know. Hopefully, we get a couple people showing up. I intended to, let me get this all messages. I didn't intend to do a live feed today. And then this showed up, and I was like, oh, I should do a live feed. And my internet was down. So I was going to unbox this. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. So, see what's going on. We'll see who pops in. Uh, I also have got to let you guys know about some stuff that's going on. I maybe clean that lens a little bit. Let's see here. Where'd I put my lens cloth? So there's some stuff going on. You may not get all the videos that you're expecting, and I will explain that in a moment. Let's see. I'd rather do it when there's more people here. That was weird. So there's a couple. Rickard, hello. So since there's a couple people here, which means there's probably a lot more because this is on the short feed. Before that, I wanted to address something. There's probably not going to be a lot of filming going on for a little bit. And there's a couple reasons. You guys know I've talked about it. My daughter started college. This is her first week. And there's a lot of stuff involved in that. We're trying to figure out transportation and all the other stuff that goes on with that. So with my daughter in her first week of college, even though classes haven't started, she's spending a lot of time on the campus, and therefore I'm spending a lot of time doing a bunch of stuff. But we have things that still are pending for payments and things like that that we have to get reimbursed for. So we're doing a lot of that stuff. And then she's got a couple doctor's appointments that I have to be there for because she's still a minor, even though she's in college. So may not be as much content as I typically like to put out. I'm going to move this a little bit. Can I put this on the bill of my hat? Is that going to screw me all up? Oh, that's good. That's good. How's that? How's that sound? So I typically like to put out 3 videos a week, but the problem is I really don't have a lot of time, and some of my medications changed, and my ability to focus is affected. And it's going to get better over time, but I have to get used to some new medication that's affecting my ability to focus and concentrate. I think you all saw that in the last live feed yesterday. That it's kind of, well, there's only like 80 of you guys here, but I got a sword cane. And let me explain to you what happened. This is a full sword. This is a cold steel, heavy duty cane sword. And I had a friend that was in town, and we went for a walk. And we had drank a bunch of beer and got into the Devil's Lettuce. And it's a guy I haven't seen in a bunch of years. I thought I ordered this. Turns out, I forgot, he ordered it. So it showed up today. He was in town. We went for a walk, and up the road, he saw a mountain lion across the road. And he was like, what is that? And I was like, it's a mountain lion. He's like, you walk the dog out here and there's mountain lions running around. I was like, that's why I carry a fixed blade, a big fixed blade when I go for a walk at night. And he was like, okay, we got back to the house before he took an Uber back to his hotel. He was like, I ordered you a sword. It's coming. And this is what he ordered me. This is the cold steel, heavy duty sword cane. And it's actually really good as a cane by itself. But the sword is inside here. And so simply remove it, and you've got a rapier style sword. So this is sharpened back swedge, fully sharpened edge. It's not super, super sharp, but I don't need it to be super, super sharp. It's got the cane handle, but it comes down nice and deep. The only thing about this one that I don't like that I've seen on other sword canes is this goes all the way down in, so there is nothing to prevent you from rubbing the sharpened edge of this on the aluminum tubing that it goes in. And I already have felt a couple spots that I'm probably going to have to try and touch this up a little bit. It's sharp. It's as sharp as I need it to be for a mountain lion. But I always wanted one of these, and I've seen them in movies and things like that, but a lot of times, what's that on my hat? That's my microphone. It's humid and it's sticky. I didn't want to try and wear the lavalier mic, so I put the transmitter, because it has a built-in microphone. I just put it on my hat. It's a microphone. So typically I'll have a lavalier mic, so you get good audio, but I just didn't want to mess with it today. But yeah, I'm kind of impressed with this. I don't really know too much about the steel or anything, but it did come sharp. So it's sharpened from here all the way to the tip, and it's got your typical rapier style piercing tip with that back swedge, but the back swedge is sharp. It's not as sharp as the primary edge, but yeah, this thing's really cool. And the fact is, I don't need it to be a sword per se, but I do have a couple of really screwed up knees, primarily my right one. It's held in with a friction fit. It's in there good. It doesn't rattle, but it's actually a really good cane. And having taken martial arts, it's illegal. Great. Thanks. Thanks, Captain Haddock. I bet you're fun at parties. It's illegal if I get caught using it. It's not illegal for me to have, but I absolutely can. The Kingsman one was brass. I've seen it. Sword canes have been around a lot longer than the movie The Kingsman, Shadman. Honestly, this has been out. This was out way before. These came out 15 years ago, if I remember right. These have been out for a long time, much longer than the movie The Kingsman. Actually, these things have been out for 20 plus years. I remember seeing these. The original ones were shorter. It was just a short cane. There's all different variations on this. Most of your places like Bud K and places like that have sword canes. There's actually a really nice one I wouldn't mind having, and it's done by United Cutlery. It's the Rosh Hashanah sword cane, and it's really nice, but it's like $200. And on top of that, I didn't buy this one. So it's got nice weight to it, but the thing I was getting ready to say is I don't need it to be a sword. I don't need it to be a sword because the fact is this is an aluminum tube that is 2 millimeters thick, and it's really hefty. I need it as a striking implement, first and foremost. And it works really good for that. And if you've taken martial arts, you learn how to fight with sticks, and canes are another form. I wouldn't be able to use this as a hook and pull because if you pull on it, see, what holds this in place is 2 O-rings. Now there's some problems with this, I do have to admit, but you know, I think these are $100. This has 2 O-rings that make a friction fit. So if the O-rings go bad, you have to replace the O-rings. And then there's nothing to prevent you from dragging the sharpened edge down the aluminum tube. But benefit is this is 2 millimeter thick aluminum, and it's solid. It's rigid. It is like a cane, and you could use this as a striking weapon along with this. You just probably won't ever be able to get the sword back in the tube. So it's pretty cool. I'm digging it. I'm gonna do some stuff with it. We're gonna see it in a video. Like I said, you just push that down in, and then it's just basically a friction fit. So that's something really cool. I've always wanted one of these, and I didn't ever pull the trigger on one. And when my buddy said, "Hey man, I got you something and it's coming," and then he told me, "Oh yeah, I got you a sword cane," I was like, "Cool, cool." So but it was fun having him in town. That's part of the reason that you're not getting as many videos. Like that's why not as many videos has gotten filmed. He's been in town. I haven't seen him in like probably 10, 15 years. So he's been in town. And then his wife got into town like 3 days before they left to go up north. They're just on a trip, but he was able to leave work earlier. Their kids are grown like mine. Their kids are in school and college. And he was like, "Hey, I'm coming out there. I got a hotel." He's like, "We're going to hang out like every night until the wife gets here." And then his wife got here and we hung out with him and his wife for a couple days. And then they went up north to go somewhere like Eureka or something like that. They're just basically on a vacation trip. And so it was really cool to get to see him for a while. And now I have a sword cane. The other thing too is my shoulder's been bothering me, so I can use this hook to like massage the area that I can't reach, where the muscles are all cramped up. Oh, it's so good. So yeah, it's stabby stick. So, but in all honesty, it's not a bad cane. Sword aside, it's not a bad cane. It's a nice solid cane, rubber stop, really comfortable handle. It's the right height for somebody my size. Like we've talked about, I'm 6 230 pounds. It's good. You need it. Like I typically would have to get an adjustable length cane, and then to open it up all the way. But this has worked out really well. But yeah, it's I think it's three. The whole thing is like for $100. This isn't bad. It is in 3CR steel, I believe. So let's do a paper test. Let's see if we'll cut paper. I don't think it'll cut newspaper. I don't think it'll cut newspaper or phone book paper. But I would imagine that some of the thicker stuff that I have here, like this notebook paper, I mean, it's not bad for considering how narrow that blade is that they got it that sharp. It is hot out here today. So it's a new unique thing. Now, here's the thing. I've never, and I'm going to have to do some, I may do videos of it. I have never used a straight sword like this. I've taken Japanese swordsmanship. This is different. This is not the slashing weapon. Yeah, I mean, you could, but this is not the slashing weapon that I'm accustomed to. This is more of a rapier style, which is more about piercing. So I'm going to have to learn a whole new skill set, and I may record some of that in the yard because sword techniques are very different between Japanese swordsmanship and European style swordsmanship, which is what this is. This is just a really big shank. It's basically what you got here. It's more of a rapier style. I'm sorry, it's hard to get the whole thing in. So learning to use this is going to be a new challenge, especially a bad shoulder. So I don't know if that's gonna, I dig it. It looks so cool. It's a full saber grind all the way down to the tip. And then you get that back swedge that brings you down to that really piercing tip. Remember when I talked about when I did the dagger video? If you guys haven't watched it, there's a video about 5 or 6 badass daggers. And I talked about how daggers are meant for piercing, and the reason that they have double edges a lot of times is it facilitates piercing a lot better, but still gets you a reinforced tip with that central line. So it thins the tip enough that you get more piercing, you can get through material easier, but still have that rigid tip. Same thing on that. That's the whole reason that has a swedge. This is cold steel taipan, if you haven't ever seen one. Beautifully done dagger, and yes, I'm EDCing it. So I don't really worry about the cops because the cops really don't worry about me. Just so you guys know, having friends in law enforcement and having done law enforcement and working for the Department of Defense, basically in a law enforcement facility, I wasn't doing active law enforcement. Cops, 9 times out of 10, are just going to ignore you unless you're doing something that gets their attention. Like, they're going to see you doing something and they're like, is that guy carrying a knife? And I was like, yeah, probably. Like pocket knives and things like that. Like if you're carrying a fixed blade in California, San Diego, you can carry any length fixed blade you want, as long as it's open carry and it's not a dagger. Like I can't carry this one. But the likelihood of a cop knowing that this is a dagger and stopping me because of that is slim and none. Now, if somebody calls, this is the reason I don't carry this around. If someone calls and says, hey, there's a guy with a big knife, and the cops show up and are like, were you brandishing it? Things like that. No. And guys, there are 42 of you here, but only 7 likes. It really helps push this live feed up the algorithm, right up the algorithm, right up the algorithm. If you drop a like, it really does help. The fact is, I don't carry this like when I'm out and about. I carry it around the house just because I enjoy having this knife and I'm trying to break in the sheath, because there are places I will carry this. Because this is, let me get it here. I'll show you. It's a brand new sheath. It was done by Harry Savage. It's a brand new sheath. I don't want to use a Kydex sheath because this is really sharp now that I've sharpened it. I wanted a leather sheath. Harry Savage made me a leather sheath that is very similar to the sheath you would see on the knife that I do carry when I go for walks, the R1 Military Classic. Can you see how like these tactical style sheaths. I like them. I dig them. This is way better than going in and out of a fiberglass reinforced nylon sheath that's going to strip the edge off of this, because I have news for you. I sharpened this. I don't like sharpening daggers because you have to be really precise to make the edges marry up and keep it even. And I just don't want to do it very often unless I have to. And so having this, it's not Kydex, it's Securex. So we'll talk about that. Hang on a second. I'll show you the difference. I have the actual sheath that came with this. This is the sheath that Cold Steel makes. Now, people are like, oh, you just don't want to scratch the finish on your knife. Not true. I don't care about that. Yeah. I don't care about the finish on my knife. What I care about is the edge and the functionality of the knife. If you put your knife in this, and I will show you a prime example. I have a whole box full of fixed blades for us to look at because I said I wanted to look at some fixed blades. This is a prime example of why I hate Securex. This is the OSS. It's in a Securex leather sheath. Yeah, I don't care about the finish. This knife's already all scratched up. I've done a lot of stuff with it. And it's never sharp, because in and out of this, because I don't have another sheath for this, in and out of this sheath strips the edge off because it's fiberglass reinforced nylon. Kydex doesn't do that. Kydex will scratch the crap out of your knife. That's fine. But it doesn't cut the edge. And I've got a prime example of a really good Kydex sheath. And it's this one, this two-piece Kydex that's on this monster here. This knife is razor sharp, and it's in and out of this sheath all the time. I mess around with this short sword. Basically that's what we've got here. And just so you can see, I sharpened this down to a nightmare-inducing edge, which could explain why I was able to jam half an inch of the corner of that into my thumb and now have one side of my thumb that I can't feel. So that sheath does not at all affect the edge. So that's a knife made. Yeah. This is the Grizzly by Work Tough Gear. It is Aurora Borealis knives. Alex over at Aurora Borealis Knives designed this. It has a larger brother called the Kodiak. So this is the Grizzly. There's a bigger one called the Kodiak that if you go over to Scab's channel, because this was a gift from Scab over at Choir Boys Cutlery, this is the smaller brother to the Kodiak. This is the Grizzly. And this thing's amazing. Works really well for anything you're going to do. This thing is a beast, but it is heavy. I can use for you. But the cool thing about it is I've taped them down because when I film videos, they rattle. But you can use these D-rings to lash it to your pack, so you don't have to try and find a carry option for your belt. Now you can also use these holes, but with this as well, you could also make a harness to carry it this way if you wanted, or this way if you wanted, because it's got really good retention. Another really good Kydex sheath that has come in recently was the one that came with this Carnivora. I got a lot of big knives, Donald, so don't be surprised if you see a bunch of knives that size. This is you probably won't ever see this knife again. You're probably only going to see a couple examples of this, mine and the one that Scab has over on his channel. This is the Carnivora knives, Mako. I'm going to do a video about what's happening with this company as soon as I get more information, but it looks as though the owner of the company really screwed over the guy that was making the knives and basically ran him out of business. So my friend Brock did this. This is a great knife. Carnivora was going to be fun if it ever came up and was working. Their whole thing was fantasy functional. So this is actually a very usable knife, but it's a really insane fantasy style buoy that you would look at and say, I think I've seen that in a movie. Unfortunately, I think that business practices and just the way that the way things were being done and things like that really ran that I think that business it's basic. I don't think we're going to hear too much about them. I think they're pretty much done. And like I said, guys, if you have not dropped a like, I would really appreciate it. And if you do like this live feed, you can always drop super chats because, like I said, I'm laid off right now and I'm just waiting to get called back from the company and go back to work. And unemployment does not cover near what actually working did. But on top of the fact that I got the cane sword, and I will pull it out for late joiners, like where's the sword? We will look at it. I was going to show you in comparison to an actual sword. That's right. I have one down here because it was down here. I cleaned it not long ago because I did some test cutting with it just to see how my shoulder felt. This is just a run-of-the-mill battle-ready sword. I did use this when I did Japanese martial arts. It was the first sword I ever used, but this is an actual katana, and you can see the big difference in this sword versus the one that I got. Is this sword was meant for slicing. I didn't even pull it up. I got so busy, like Rickert, like I was saying, so much stuff is going on with my kid in her college. But at any rate, this is a different style sword. This is not what that sword is. That sword is meant just for piercing. This sword is meant for slashing. It's got that full, let's see, can you guys see it? Let's get back further. It has that fully curved blade that you get on a katana. And so that allows for you to do the slicing movements, right? And coming across and do the slicing movements that you would do in Japanese swordsmanship. The sword that's in that cane does not. Oh, hey, look, somebody that we need to. Hey, Aiden, you want to escort them from the chat? Not because I'm offended, but because I don't really need people trolling my. No, not you, Anthony. The tip got me, Odell. I got it. No, it wasn't Antonio Brown. What did Antonio Brown do? Put a girl on. No, I'm all right. But yeah, so this is a completely different type of sword. I really this is not the kind of sword I'm used to. So for me to use this, and it is stiff getting it out. So that would be a very big change in what I need to do is figuring out how to remove it from the actual cane. So it's not sharp here. It's got I do like the thing that it does have a nice long handle. So removing it from the aluminum scabbard, basically, there's no guide in there do I have a Buster sword? No, I only have, this is the only sword I have that is not a Japanese katana. Like I said, I took Japanese swordsmanship for 10 of the 13 years that I lived in Japan. So it's, I couldn't find a place up near Tokyo to study. So this is a different type of sword, different type of use purpose, different handholds and things like that. The shaving around the handle might create a smooth transition. The problem is if you do that, then you lose all retention. The only thing that holds it in is basically the vacuum that's formed with these O-rings. I heard somebody say take one of the O-rings out and you get a smoother draw. But the fact is, I honestly don't foresee myself. There are a lot of things that would have to happen before there would be a lot of things that would have to happen before I would actually use this as a sword. But I got news for you. I do use a cane from time to time because I do have a really, really bad knee. And there's times where I need a cane. And I have one, but it's a really crappy one This is a much nicer cane, much more heavy duty. I think that the majority of times this is going to be used as a cane versus a sword. I can guarantee you that 100% of the time it's it's for fun. It is for fun. But my buddy actually got it because, like I said, we were walking, and I'm not gonna lie, we were like more than a 12 pack each in, and had gotten into devil's lettuce, the jazz cabbage, and we were walking around, and he saw that mountain lion, and he was like, "I'm getting you this," and so it showed up. This is the nicer one of the ones that I've seen. The other one I saw it's a short. It's not even like a sword. It's only like that long. Uh, but this one is the heavy duty. Like it's a full size sword. It's like a full size rapier style sword. So old hickory canes are strong wood. Yeah, they are. Where did I put my coffee? Hang on a second, guys. I got to figure out where I put my coffee. I think I left it. I did. I left it sit empty, but I made enough coffee to get myself through this live feed. Um, oh, another reason that you're probably going to see a little bit less of me. What's this? Your favorite Super Smash Bros? No, this is Zero Foxtrot. This is a gift from one of the paying members. I have one of the paying members that I've become friends with that lives not too far out of here, and he gets me shirts through Zero Foxtrot all the time, so that I like having crazy shirts, and he's been really cool about finding me all kinds of stuff. He also got me. I have a Goonies shirt that says Goonies Never Say Die, and it's got the Goonies skull on it. But he also got me the coin, the Goonies coin. This was part of my birthday present. So it has the Goonies Never Say Die on it, and then the actual coin that you saw in the movie. And so it's something really cool. The thing is, like, we've talked about it because we talk not just in like chat and things like that. We actually talk. He's got my phone number. We talk every once in a while. And so he knows that Goonies is one of my favorite movies. As a matter of fact, our dog's name is Chunk. So he's got me a bunch of Hawaiian shirts and things like that. But yeah, I love this shirt. This is a really cool one. The Goonies one that he got me for my birthday is really cool. So it's, I mean, that's been the cool thing about the memberships. Like Aiden is one of my paying member. I actually have a chat server on Gilded that the paying members have access to, and it's someplace that, hey, $10, thank you very much for that, I appreciate it. But it's actually, we've, some of the folks that I have talked to that have been paying members, we have conversation all the time. 3 of them are in a group chat called Fuck Faces. It's Will Be, Bubbles, and 2A Dave. And 2A Dave comes down to the house from LA pretty regularly. So thank you, JHA67. That's really cool. Do I go to Knights Warriors events? No, but I did used to go to the Japanese festivals where they would have the guys that are practicing martial arts. In Japan, it's a really cool dynamic. Let me grab my thermos because I made extra coffee. It's a really cool dynamic. I was stationed in Japan for 13 years. And when I was in southern Japan, they had a state-sponsored martial arts school. And so you could, where am I in this chat? You're right there, Rickard, right there at the bottom. But they had a state-run, like, martial arts school. And I used to go there, and you could go in there, and for $5, you paid $5, you could take as many classes as you want. And I would be there all day. And I took Japanese swordsmanship every time I went. Every time without fail, I took at least one Japanese swordsmanship class. But I also was taking, at the time, Shirenji Kempo, and I already had a black belt in Kwanmuken Karate. So I had a really good, the fuckface chat. You're not in there. It's an actual, we have each other's phone numbers. Rickard, that's what you mean. And so I wound up getting a really broad spectrum view of martial arts. And I also took Iedo, which is the art of drawing the sword from the scabbard. So there's like two different arts associated with Japanese swordsmanship. You have the actual kenjutsu, which is the art of using a live sharpened sword. Well, here's the thing. I won't get recruited. I'm retired from the military. So at any rate, hey, I've been here for 10 minutes. Thank you very much, Goldie Y. So I forget what I was talking about. Oh, so I took the Japanese swordsmanship, which is the kenjutsu, which is the actual cutting with a live sword. So I took the art of drawing the sword, and I also took the act of using and cutting with the sword. Kenjutsu was a lot of fun. I don't want to underrate Japanese swords, but Middle East, there's a lot of swords. So there's a lot of different swords channels that I watch. Shadiversity is one, and they talk about it, and they show the Japanese sword has gotten a really good name because it is such a good cutting implement because of the radius of the blade and the way that the edge comes down and everything. It does a great job. But that doesn't mean that it's a better sword for any, like if you were to pose like a medieval knight against a samurai, it would be a very different dynamic because different types of armor, different types of technique and things like that. So what the fuck does that mean in my country? Every man needs to serve their country in case of war. I'm retired. I already did my time in the military. I joined the military when I was 17 years old. I'm now 50. Well, first of all, I'm beyond draft age. And second of all, I already did my time. I am retired from the Navy. I did all of the time in the military I was allowed to do. So I don't know what you mean. That's like, would I go? Yeah, I would. I would absolutely drop everything and go. But the fact is, I'm not the one they're going to be calling. They're not calling a 50-year-old veteran with 2 bad knees and a shoulder that's going to have to be replaced in the next year or so. I'm not the guy they're calling. They're done with me. I've done my time. Yes. Good voluntary service. 13 years in Japan, and then I spent 5 years here. And some of it was at a newly formed unit called Naval Expeditionary Command, NECC, and I was at the MESF, which was Mobile Expeditionary Security Forces. So that's where I spent my last years. And then I got medically retired, and I did a couple years doing odd things, like I taught solid state electronics at the 5-inch gun school. I did weapons my entire career, and that was my primary system. So I taught gun system, electrical theory, fluid power, and solid state electronics at the schoolhouse. So there you go. Just a brief 1,000-foot view of my military career. So at any rate, I don't want to talk about war and the possibility of war, but I did want to talk about some of my favorite fixed blades. And I'm going to tell you, like, a lot of people are like, why do you, like, this channel is predominantly folding knives. It's predominantly folding knives, right? This is a gorgeous knife. It's the company that's doing my folding knife design. But everybody's like, well, all you talk about is folding knives. You must. I actually would love to have more people subscribe to watch fixed blade stuff, because I absolutely will take a fixed blade. In most scenarios, I will take a fixed blade over a folding knife any day of the week. Okay, you know what? Here we go. I'm going to take this one down, and I'm going to ask you to no longer, we're not going to talk about World War III, and we're not going to talk about politics. I've said this before. Consider this my house. I personally would like you to treat your political opinions like your penis. You're fucking welcome to have them. But if you're at my house, keep them in your pants. So there you go. That's like, I don't want to talk about all that. There's too much of that stuff going on already. So you're welcome to stay. I didn't boot you, but I don't want to talk about politics. I don't want to talk about war. I don't want to talk about anything that's going on in Europe or the Middle East. It's not why we're here. At any rate, I love fixed blades. Fixed blades are the way to go. And if you know how to use Axo Chillax. I think that I've got it set so only my moderators can put up links. I apologize. It prevents. We had a problem with the people putting up spicy adult. Can we talk about your car's extended warranty? No. So folding knives are great. They're probably one of the most versatile tools you're ever going to come across, but they're never going to do as well as a fixed blade, with some minor exceptions. There are some minor exceptions to that. There are some folding knives that absolutely have got this, like basically it's like having a fixed blade, and they're all pretty much most of them are done by cold steel. Rickard, I'm not gonna allow it to go up, but I won't shit on Europe. Don't worry. I can say it, but when you guys put it in the chat, well, actually, you know what? Fuck it. That's not that bad. There you go. Don't shit on Europe. So I carry fixed blade. I carry folding knives all the time. Like I carry them constantly because they are a really versatile tool, especially something like this. It's still in my pocket from yesterday when I took these jeans off and I just dropped them in the bathroom floor. This is a really, really good Pikal. Typically, Pikals are fixed blades. I have a problem carrying a Pikal fixed blade the way I want because, like I said, California and San Diego law says I can carry a fixed blade anywhere I want of any size, but I can't conceal it. Well, typically, I don't have my shirt tucked in. I don't like having my shirt tucked in, mainly because the government told me for my entire adult life I had to have my shirt tucked in. So I don't tuck my shirt in anymore. So the reason that I carry this, oh no, it's okay. I've just got it set so the only people that post up links are my moderators. So this is a folding Pikal. And so I carry this because I can take this in a neighborhood and then I still have, I don't know how, let's see. Can you guys see that? I don't know how well you can see it. I can really just grab that and have a deployed self-defense weapon. So that's a folding knife that I absolutely can get behind. But typically a fixed blade is going to give you the best possible scenario for a knife, which is why I designed this. So it's a little fixed blade. It's a little fixed blade. It's absolutely smaller than most of the folding knives I carry. If this was a folding knife, it would be considered a mini. But the fact is that this is a great little knife for working construction, and it's very underrated in the self-defense realm. And while I do carry mine scout carry, if I'm going out somewhere where I know I'm not going to be around the cops, this, I carry it scout carry, but you can wear this on the exterior of your clothes as a neck knife on a chain. And this is something that I designed because I was working construction and I realized real quick that it sucked trying to open and close a knife with gloves on. Have you ever done that with heavy gloves? Because a lot of times we would have two pairs of gloves. You'd have the rubberized cloth gloves underneath, and then sometimes if you're doing like heavier stuff, you'd have leather gloves on top that you would just carry in your pocket, and you'd have like two pairs of gloves. Especially if you had big hands like me and they only had double XL gloves and you wear triple XL and you kept blowing the fingers out of your gloves, you would just basically keep the gloves fingerless and then wear a pair of leather gloves on top. I absolutely realized it was a pain in the ass to keep opening and closing a knife while wearing gloves. So, and let me know if the audio changes because I'm still messing around with trying to figure out what cords. I've got a couple cords that are causing some power issues. And what happens is, hang on. I was just checking something. What happens is when the power cord rattles, it disconnects my microphone and I have to reconnect it. So if it does change, let me know. But yeah, I have some really, really cool fixed blades. Are you interested in real swords craftsmanship to learn? Nah, I was a knife maker for a while. I don't think I want to try and make swords. And at this point in my life, my shoulder is so screwed up. There is no way I would be able to swing a hammer to make a sword. And like I said, I took 10 years of Japanese swordsmanship. I'm okay with where I'm at with what I want to be. And I'll tell you that while having a man chase you out of their house with a sword is frightening, having a naked man chase you out of their house with a sword is going to leave lasting psychological scars. But here we go. This is my go for walks with the dog at night knife, because I'm pretty sure I could do a lot of damage to a mountain lion with this. This is one of my favorite, all-time favorite fixed blades. I had one of these when I was in Kuwait. I had one of these because I traded. I'm not going to get into the story. At any rate, I had one of these, and then, that was 2001. 2001, 2002. It's been over 20 years. I can't remember if I lost it or if I gave it to someone that was coming in theater. But Michael R., one of the guys that watches the channel, hey, JHA67, thank you once again for the $10 donation. It seems insignificant for a lot of people, but like when you're a content creator and you're doing live feeds and you're putting in the work, having someone do that just absolutely feels good. And I like to call it out. So thank you very much. I appreciate the $10 donation. Now I have a held for, oh, so that's okay. Well, so this is absolutely a knife that I would feel comfortable carrying. This is a knife I would feel comfortable carrying, going for a walk with the dog, knowing that there's mountain lions in the area. Doesn't bother me at all. Red River, just found you, had to sub, watching all I can. Well, thank you. The channel's been around for a long time. 2015 is when I started this channel. But I really didn't put as much into it then as I do now. I put a lot of work into it. You can see I've got a green screen behind me. I've got, if you turn this, you can see tons of lighting, wireless microphone system, multiple PowerPoints so that filming from above. I've got a gooseneck that I can film above, because you guys are on my workbench out here in the studio where I film sharpening videos and where I film all the videos. So it's cool that people find the channel, and I think that this vertical live feed thing has really done the most. Last live feed I did was like 10,000 views, and I got like almost 100 subscribers. So let's look at where we're at on this one for today. My shoulder hurts. Let's see here. So we're at, what we got here? 1,000 people. So 1,700 people have watched this. So it's a lot of fun to do them this way, and it gets more people to the channel. But like I said, there's a lot of things I can't do now that I want to do. Like I want to go out and test that sword today. But I know that I need to give this shoulder a little bit of rest, because I did something stupid and I did a lot of work with a knife that's here, and I absolutely regret it, because it was video that I did with that camera before I found out the camera footage was getting janky and it was all glitchy. And so I spent a day swinging that, and then I did a full video sharpening, and then I did a full live feed sharpening. And so my arm is screwed up. And that's one of the things that, like, you want to know that you're getting old is when Amazon reminds you that you may want to reorder this, because you ordered it and it would be about the time frame where you would be running out of it. So I have 2 tubes of this. So I have not been kind to my body over the 50 years. The military was rough on my body and shoulders and knees. I've had 4 shoulder surgeries on this shoulder. So, but yeah, I love it when new people come to the channel, because it brings new stuff and new younger people that are going to watch the videos. And if you like this, I've got over 3,000 videos on the channel total. I think that counts live feeds and stuff too, though, but like, I don't care. There's over 3,000 videos on this channel. Let's talk about some other fixed blades that are some of my favorites. This is another knife that I carried when I was in the military because I didn't like the knife I was issued. So I found one of these. It was new old stock. I think this is 1970s stock. that I got, and it was still like new in the box. As a matter of fact, I still have the box. And this is the Puma Stag Buoy when they were still made in Solingen in Germany, with one of the best sheaths you're ever gonna come across. And I have this is the sheath that came with the knife, but I bought a sheath that was a little bit beat up because I carried it in uniform and it was getting wet and things like that. So this is a beautiful, beautiful showing of a really nice small buoy. And I carried this for about 6 or 8 months. A couple people complained about it, and I told them, I was like, look, I just don't like the knife that I was issued. It's not a good knife. I don't trust it. I trust this. And I forget what knife they gave me as a replacement. I think it was the Gerber Harsey Hunter, which was an issue item, and I dug that, and I'm pretty sure I have it somewhere. But old school Pumas are amazing. You can't go wrong with an old school Puma. The Hunter, the White Hunter, the Hunter's Pal, which I have one in Ohio. This one, the Stag Buoy, they were all amazing. And like I said, the work that they did on these, peened over stag handles on a stainless steel blade. This is not a carbon steel blade. Really, really sharp, beautifully done. Puma used to make some of the best knives. I think that they make all of their knives in Taiwan now, and there's a buoy that they have that is not as nice as this. That's what's on their website now. But this is absolutely a gorgeous, gorgeous knife and sheath, and it's got a really cool retention thing. So in the military, a lot of guys are like, yeah, but I don't trust this, that one clip. This is not so much a lanyard hole. It isn't, it is, and it isn't. But the sheath has an extra little loop here so that you can, like if you're, a lot of guys that I was talking to were paratroopers and they were jumping out of airplanes and shit like that, like Army SF and Navy guys that were in the special forces. So you can loop that around and then pull it tight and then pull that loop down, and there's no chance that's going to come out. And it also has a little leg loop so that you can wrap that on your leg so it doesn't slap around. So you can make sure that your knife is not going to fall out of its sheath if you happen to be jumping out of an airplane. I thought that was really clever. And it's been like that for years. So there is Bubbles. Bubbles, I was just telling him about the group chat that we have, Fuck Faces, with me, you, Dave, and Will be. So yeah, this is one of my all-time favorite fixed blades. Like I said, this is one that I actually carried in uniform. So hey, I was just talking about, like, I didn't at all like the combat knife that I was issued, so I carried this for a few years. So really, really cool. Okay, do we have the audio back? So my wife pulled in and my car connected immediately to the Bluetooth. So my phone connected to the car Bluetooth. So yeah, you were hearing car audio. So I apologize. I was yelling at her. Oh, sorry, I sounded panicked, but that was fun. That was fun. I didn't even think about that. I didn't even think about that. So yeah, this was a great knife that I carried for a while. 35. Where did everybody go? Just because the audio went all wonky? Chunk, get out from under my legs. Go. See what happens when you get to talking about the truth in this country. Yeah, right. So, hey, Michael R., we just were talking about the knife that you gave me as a birthday present last year. And funny, I got this as a birthday present this year. How cool is that? The cold steel taipan, another knife that I've always wanted. And I got news for you. My buddy, you guys are going to get to see something really cool because my buddy got me some stuff for my birthday. And they're not, I want to preface this because you guys know I hate knockoffs. They're not knockoffs. They are movie replicas of a couple knives that were in movies. So it's not a Lyle and it's not a life support system, but he got me replicas of the knives from the a couple of movies that we love. And I was like, you didn't have to do that. You know, he's like, it's not my fault that you had a birthday. It's like, you were born. It's not my fault. So you guys are going to see videos about that. But I have some other fixed blades here that are some of my favorite fixed blades. Hey, I bought you beer for your birthday. No shout out. Yeah, you did. I know. I shouted you out on that video. Okay, this has not been treated as nicely, Michael, as you did. This is constantly going on long walks with me. This goes with me when I take the dog for the nightly walk. And I sent it over to Scab at Choir Boys Cutlery, and he cut tires, stabbed tires, cuts the sidewalls out of tires with this, and I had to resharpen it when it came back. It is nowhere near as pristine as when you sent it to me. As you can see, it gets put through some work, but that's a sign that I love a knife. When I've got a knife and I just absolutely beat the shit out of it, you can guarantee that's a knife I absolutely love. And I absolutely love this. This is a very thoughtful gift. I appreciate it. One of the best knives Cold Steel has ever made. I've got a handful of those. But that was the whole, I know. I mean, I knew I was going to beat the crap out of it. Another Cold Steel coming your way. One of my all-time favorite fixed blades is an old school Pendleton. What do I prefer lubricant for my blade steel? It depends on the steel. Some steels don't need it. Some steels don't really rust. 20CV, M390, 204P, 14C28N is really rust resistant. So is the blade steel on this, which ARPM9. But on things that are rust prone, I have a couple things that you can use these blade waxes. This is a $15 tube of blade wax. Now, I didn't pay for this. It was sent to me. I do use this. But to tell you the truth, for most of your steels that are going to be prone to rusting, like, let's see here, this crew wear, take your finger, put it in a thing of Vaseline, get a little bit on both sides, and then just wipe the blade down. Vaseline is great on something like crew wear that is D2 crew wear, things like that are prone to a little bit of rust and corrosion. Just Vaseline. Vaseline works really well. Saddle wax is another good one. You can use neutral shoe polish, to tell you the truth, because basically there's artisan wax, which is basically like shoe polish, all of that. So I typically, like my high stainless steels, I don't do much with, like the San Mai. On this Cold Steel, the lighting, I need to turn this light on, don't I? Hang on a second, let me get this light turned on. But this is San Mai from Cold Steel, back when they still did it in Japan. And it is really rust resistant because it's a stainless steel core, which is a very good stainless. You can see this. So what this is a lamination. So there is a cheap steel on the outside jacketing it. So it gives it a really cool look, but it also serves a purpose. They don't need as much of the higher end steel to make this knife work. So only the part that is here, the cutting edge, is it's working really well. But at any rate, other things you can use, KPL Blade Shield. I've got a bottle of it, and this is how much I use it. It's almost empty. This is really good for putting on a blade that you want to protect, but you know you're going to use immediately, and you don't want to have greasy, oily stuff all over it. This has a wax in it. This is about the best thing for removing stuff that's stuck to your blade. Adhesive. Sometimes that adhesive is just like really on there. You can use WD-40 as a solvent and everything, but like if you put this on, you shake it up really good, you spray it on the blades, You spray it on the blade, let it sit. It's going to remove the adhesive. It's going to lift that adhesive when you wipe it down. Now you've done two things at once. I've added a protective layer and I've removed the adhesive from the blade. And guys are like, what do you care about the adhesive? That absolutely does. It absolutely does affect the cutting capability. But this, we're coming back to it. This is one of my favorite fixed blades. It is a cold steel Lloyd Pendleton Custom Classic. So they worked with Lloyd Pendleton, custom knife maker, and took his Pendleton Hunter, the Lloyd Pendleton Hunter, and turned it into a production knife and called it the Pendleton Custom Classic. And this is one of the best all-around hunting knives you are ever going to find. If you can find one of these, they are absolutely worth the money. I think these were $400 when I got this. This is the most expensive cold steel I ever bought. I don't agree with that. Here's my problem. I personally have issues with 3V and 4V. I will make them rust horribly. I won't buy knives in it. It's worse for me than D2. Like if I handle a 3V knife, by the end of the day, it's orange. I'm not joking. Like, and I'm just horrible about, like, I don't know what the chemical composition of my sweat is that causes it, but I absolutely can ruin certain steels. D2. D2 is one of them. Crewware. I have to stay on top of my crewware knives. They constantly are getting a coat of either that blade wax or Vaseline if they're being carried in my pocket. I am a stainless steel kind of guy. I need a stainless steel. I just couldn't do it. But these are great because you get that look, but you also get a cost savings. There's a reason why people use Sanmai, especially if you're using like an expensive material like ZDP 189, and you're doing ZDP 189 Sanmai, because the fact is that is going to save you money because you're jacketing it with cheap steel. So you can get away with a really thin piece of ZDP 189 and then sandwich it between a couple sheets of 420J, which is basically like mild steel. You heat treat the whole thing as a billet. You get the edge to 67 to 70 Rockwell on ZDP 189, but you've got the jacket steel, which is just taking up space. This is ZDP 189 at 67 Rockwell that has got alternating layers of a stainless and 420J. 420J and another steel, and it gives you that ladder look, but at the actual, I think it's actually alternating layers ZDP 189 and 420. But at any rate, the very edge is all 67 Rockwell. It's all 67 Rockwell ZDP 189, and this is just, I put a new edge on this and touched it up. Terrifying, terrifying. This is that KATSU Knives. You can save 10% on all KATSU knives with my coupon code crazysharp if you're interested. And they are making my folding knife. Matter of fact, I was trying to get a hold of them today. We were supposed to talk today, and was unable to get a hold of them. Am I welcome in the Outback? Yes, everyone is welcome as long as you don't want to come over here and start spouting political biases and things like that. You do that, and I'll escort you out of the establishment. I had somebody ask me about the coffee cup. I was not EOD, just so you guys know. I want to just make sure you guys know this. This is an EOD mug. I got this. I was TAD at a temporary assigned duty at EOD for about 6 months, and everybody got a coffee mug. It was you worked there, you got a coffee mug, and I brought it back with me. This is my EOD coffee mug, Navy Explosive Ordnance Department. Was that what it was? Navy Explosive Ordnance Disposal. I'm an idiot. EOD. So I just want to put that out there so nobody sees that and go, what the fuck? How do you get that? That's how I got it. I have some other really, really good fixed blades. Like I said, I have tons of fixed blade knives. This is a lion steel, and I think this is the M5, M6, or M4. I don't know. It's one of their M series knives. And I absolutely love this, but this is in Nylox. This is a very, very good outdoor knife. And beautiful handles on this. They're not just aesthetic. They are super, super comfortable and grippy because of the way that they were contoured. What is this? How much for a knife? I don't sell knives. I don't sell knives. I don't make knives anymore. And I'm not giving anybody any of these knives. If there's a knife here and you're seeing it in a video, and you saw it in a video a couple years ago, that knife ain't going anywhere. That means it's on my list of knives that will never leave. There's an entire milk crate full of knives over here that are knives that are staying. Now, there is another knife, another milk crate full of knives that are all knives that are like shitty knives. They're probably not going anywhere either because they're reminders of my childhood. They're stuff I've had for years. But yeah, this is a really, really good one. It comes in an ambidextrous sheath. Like you can... The cool thing about this is it's very utilitarian, especially on the sheath. If you're right-handed, you can put it in right-handed. If you're left-handed, you can put it in left-handed. It's got a stone pouch if you want to put a stone in it, but you could also put fire starting equipment and stuff in it. This is a very nice, more bushcraft style knife. Really thick, nice and broad. It's kind of a bushcraft style knife, like something you could use for camping and things like that. But the fact is, remember we talked about camping gear and survival gear, and are you ready for the wilderness or whatever it was I did here not too long ago. It's really hard to strike a ferrule rod with this because it's got a crowned spine, so it doesn't have a hard 90 for doing scraping on things like that. And then there's a handful of knives in here that are just knives that absolutely you can't go wrong with. Here's one. There's a guy that looks exactly like me that designed this. This was my take on a combat knife. I wanted, like I said, you heard me talk about, I did not like the fixed blades. The combat knives were issued. They were kind of useless. Combat knives are a little bit useless. They're bulky, they're thick, they're meant for they're basically a sharpened club, like the K-bar. And you can't do things like most people would have a pocket knife and their knife. I wanted a one knife option. This is nimble enough and small enough to do smaller tasks like in the campsite and things like that, but still built for combat purposes. I called it a combat utility, and it is a really, really good knife. So I got great fixed blades, and I got an LE1 Crambit from them, not gas station quality whatsoever. I don't know. Who are we talking about? All right, anyway. Yeah, but I designed this to have a knife that you could do a lot of tasks with and not have to... Oh, the Lion Steel. Yeah, they make pretty good stuff. And then not have to have another knife. This might be the only knife you need. I always carried a smaller pocket knife. What's this message that's held for review? Oh, that's simple. We can just... Escorting the trolls from the chat at the moment. Yeah, you can just do pretty much anything with this, and you don't have to use like this Tech Lock style belt clip because it's not. I'm not gonna lie. If I had some input on the sheath, it would never have had this. I didn't get input on the sheath because I reached out to the company. They designed the knife. I got some prototypes. I dug it. Sheath and locking mechanism was not something I really had a lot of say on. So it came with this Tech Lock. Now you can turn it and carry it scout carry, but if you put this on your belt, that is definitely up higher than I want it. I have to lift way up higher. Not so much a comfort thing, because it is a comfort issue, but if your belt is here and I have to reach above my belt, that's why this style sheath is so much better. This holds off of your sheath, and your ability to remove that knife, you don't have to lift above your belt until you've got the knife out of the sheath. As a matter of fact, I would love to see these loops be longer on a lot of knives. I have one of the best knives I own that is around here somewhere that has a sheath that is just like, there we go. This is the Lon Humphrey Custom Tucson. Any Midgard in my collection? Nah. This is a great little knife. This is the best fixed blade I've ever received as far as like a day-to-day carry knife. This is the best one I have. This is on my belt so often, like all day, every day. If I go for a long walk, I take it off and I put this on because, like I said, mountain lions, coyotes, and I live one exit from the border. Like I can walk to the border from here. So, you know, in today's climate, at any rate, this thing sits perfect because the belt loop, that means that this knife is below my belt. And it's a great, great sheath. But then you've got one of the best fixed blade knives I've ever owned. Really, this is up there as like one of the top 5 knives I've ever owned. It gets so much carry time. It's scraped up and everyone's like, you don't use knives, it's not all scratched up. It is very, very scratched up. You just can't see it because the finish on it's not like a super fine finish. It's a very coarse finish. So if you look at it, this thing has been beat up. This went to scab as well. He cut a bunch of tires, stabbed and cut around the tires. As a matter of fact, he did enough that I had to re-tip this knife because the tip was blunted and gone. But hey, need to sharpen anyway. I like appendix carry where the knife handle ends just above my right pocket. Pull the dot loops. Oh, you're talking about scout carry, like sideways, like this. Yeah. That's why there's loops on the knife that I designed, this little one. I carry this scout carry. Horizontal, like this. That is the best way to carry a knife. To really tell you the truth, scout carry is the best way to carry a knife. But some knives, like this is good. This really doesn't interfere. And the fact is, this is a short enough blade that if I'm carrying a firearm, like say I go up on a mountain and I'm outside of San Diego and I'm out in the unincorporated areas, I'm carrying a firearm because there's lots of mountain lions and shit out there. I will have this back here above my hip pocket because it really isn't long enough to interfere with anything I'm doing. And that way I can carry a holster for my pew-pew forward of that. And then I still have a knife. This is great. And the retention on this for a leather sheath is pretty good. And everybody's like, whoa, what if this, what if that? And I was like, I'm 50 years old with 2 bad knees, a screwed up shoulder, and a bad back. The likelihood of me doing a cartwheel while I'm wearing this is slim and none. And I'm pretty sure Slim just left fucking town. So this, I don't care about like a clip retention or anything. I'm not jumping out of airplanes and helicopters anymore. Those days are long gone. Those days have been gone since 2009 when I retired. So I do understand people wanting things like that, but I've got a lot of really cool fixed blades. Let's get another one out. That's a really, really cool. Actually, we're going to get one out that is basically the best fixed blade knife for the money that you will ever find. And I know you guys have seen it before on some of these live feeds. And if you're not subscribed, please do drop a subscription. If you haven't dropped a like, I'd appreciate it. It shows me that there's 71 people here, but I know there's a lot more. Hit that like button, double tap the screen. We're going to look at it right now and see that we're looking at 29. Yeah, just about 3,000 views on this already, on this live feed. The good old, solid, reliable Mora. And to be specific, the Mora Companion. I do know that they make these in stainless steel. I prefer the carbon steel. The Mora knife, their carbon steel that they use on this is amazing. This is one of the best all-around fixed blade knives you'll ever find. And they're like less than $20. If I had to pick one knife, like if I was told I could only have one knife for the rest of my life, I could replace it, but it would be the only knife that I would have. I don't know what their carbon steel is. You'd have to look on our website. I think it's 12C. Or not 12C. I forget what carbon steel. They do them in Sandvik stainless. That's what their stainless is 12C. Sorry, I got that mixed up. With all the cool knives that I have, if I had to pick one knife for all the utilitarian purposes, ease of use, comfort and carry, comfort in use, and just general cutting capability, this is the GOAT. If I really had to pick one knife that would meet all of my needs for the rest of my life, it would be this one or this one. And you can see they're very, very similar. That's the thing. Like, that's what I'm gravitating to. It would be one of these two. Very, very similar knives. Very, very similar knives. But I have to say that there's just so many things that this has going for it that this doesn't. This plastic sheath, it's not Kydex. It's just a form molded plastic sheath. It's got really good retention. Rubberized handles that are really good. This clip, you can use it if you don't want to put it on your belt. You clip it right on your pocket. And if you've got two of these, you can clip another one on. So this sheath is built so that you can double these up and clip one on top of the other. Say you need a bigger one and then you have this smaller one, because I do know that the companion is not the biggest one they have. So maybe you have this big one and a smaller one, and you can clip it on and you can double stack them so that you have two knives. Because like we always talk about with crew serve weapons, machine guns and all that, and Lone Star will validate this, because we both agree there is, being a crew serve weapons instructor, the machine gun and machine gunnery instructor, 2 is 1 and 1 is none. Because if you only have one machine gun and it stops working, now you have none. If you have 2, you always have a backup, so that somebody can be trying to fix the one that just broke, because now you're down to 1, which means 2 is 1 and 1 is none. Now you're at none. So just one of those things. The other thing about this is the price. Yeah, somebody just said a sleepy insomnia. The price on these is so low that if you happen to do something to this, you can literally replace it for less than you can replace this knife for less than a fucking meal at McDonald's. For less than lunch at McDonald's, you can have one of the best all-time fixed blades ever. It's just, it's insane. It is insane how good these are and how comfortable they are. The only downside to them is the rubberization on the outside sometimes will break down if you get certain solvents on it. This one is starting to get a little tacky, but I can see that I got something on it. I'm going to try and just wash it off and clean it up. But if you get solvents and stuff on it, it could eat up the rubber. And if you happen to step on this sheath, this is not like a molded Kydex sheath. They'll break. So that's a really great knife. That is just an all-time champ of a knife right there, is the Mora Companion. The Mora Companion is, like, they have a lot of other knives in their catalog for Mora. But the fact is that I think is the best one. It's just in the perfect size, configuration, and everything to just be all-time champ when it comes to like an outdoor fixed blade. What else do I have here? Let's look at some of the cooler new stuff that we've gotten. Oh, I have some really cool small fixed blades. Let me show you these. These, let me see. We may have talked about these in another video, a different live feed, but I really dig them because they were purpose-built for camping. I can't find the other one. There's 2 of them in here. I know there are because, well, I remember, there it is. I remember putting them in. There we go. And we'll get this one out, put it on top so we can see it. So these are, sorry, set up quick. Shout me out. Longbow 345. Cool. I shouted you out. These are some really cool knives. These are done by a company called Outdoor Element. Now, Outdoor Element has some stuff that you've seen on Shark Tank. They have a carabiner that has got a striker in it, like what you would see in a lighter for starting fires. The striker part, that part, built into a carabiner. Well, they also designed some knives that are purpose-built for outdoor use and things like that. And this one is the Scout Feather. Nice and light, small little knife. But the cool thing about these is they both have got sharpeners built into them. This has a little pull-through fine ceramic, which is not bad. I don't like pull-throughs, but this is not like a carbide pull-through where you're like eating up your edge. It's just simply ceramic rods to touch your edge up. This is done in a drop point. Unique handles that are very, very thin, but even for my big, big hands, super comfortable, great, great jimping. This one is a drop point V grind. There is a ferro rod for starting a fire built into the handle, and there's a hard 90-degree edge on this for striking a ferro rod and making a fire. You also can replace this if need be. You reach out to them. There is the bit that you need for it is right in there. You unscrew it, take it out, and you can put it right back in. And it's got a whistle that is lanyarded onto it, and it is loud. I think it's 106 decibel. It's, sorry, that probably was not near as loud for you as it was for me, because I've got it set up to limit the audio peaks. Did that hurt your ears? It was way louder for me. Guarantee it was way louder for me. So that's built in. Flicker, these are Outdoor Element. These are amazing. They also have another one. Yes, I have tinnitus. No, I'm just deaf, to tell you the truth. That's being around machine guns, 5-inch gun systems. 5-inch gun system, if you guys don't know, fires a 72-pound projectile at twice the speed of sound for a distance of up to 13 to 17 nautical miles, depending on the weight of the projectile. That's a loud noise. And I can't hear anything. Even with hearing protection on, I can't hear. I shot 25 millimeter Bushcrafter or Bushmaster chain guns. I've shot machine guns. I've shot the 5-inch gun systems. I have been around things that make loud noises for my entire adult life, and I don't hear real great. This is the other one that they have, which is the one I like the most. This is the Flicker Feather. This one is chisel ground. This is a very, very useful knife in a bushcrafting scenario, because with this little knife, you can do things that you can't do with other knives when it comes to building a shelter, because if you want to notch things, you have an actual woodworking tool in your pocket. So perfectly straight edge on that for cutting, and then a chisel up front. And this one has a little diamond plate sharpener. Same thing. And there's the sheath with the fire starter stick on it, little belt clip. I honestly will take I'm going to take the belt clip off of this, and I'm going to put a loop, or put this as a neck knife. I don't like the pocket clip that's on it. I despise the pocket clip that's on it, but it is a very good little sheath. The whole package works together really well. Throw this. This is built for going over the strap of a backpack. How do I get these knives? Companies send them to me. People send them to me. A lot of the stuff that you see here is stuff that a lot of the stuff that's here is stuff that I have kind of bought and things like that. Some of the older stuff, but a lot of the stuff has just been over the years. Companies have sent it to me. People have sent them to me. They're like, hey, I got a knife. I don't ever use it. I'll send it to your channel. Use it for your channel. Do whatever you want with it. Companies will send me stuff for review, and I'm right up front with them. I was like, look, just because you gave me a knife does not get you a good review. Outdoor Element, these are available. Just go to their website, Outdoor Element, and you can find these. This is on their website, Outdoor Element. I think these were a Kickstarter, but the Kickstarter is over, and I think they're just selling these now at retailers. So just Outdoor Element, and that's what their logo looks like. Like I said, great outdoor. I can't even get that off of there. So, like I said, you can just take this whistle off. This lanyard, Outdoor Element, yeah. So you just take your whistle off, and if you need to swap out. Now, I'm going to tell you, this is a hazardously sharp knife, and I've used it enough that I did have to touch up the edge. But you just break that loose, and this entire ferro rod will come out. And say if you want to use it, you can swap this Like if you're going to start a fire, you can screw this in this way so you've got a better handle for your fire starter, and then you just swap it back. So that is a fire starting ferro rod. You can absolutely just replace these if you use it enough or if it breaks, but you can also flip it so that you've got a handle, and then when you're striking it, you can get yourself farther away from the actual sparks and have some more offset to use that. And then it just screws back in. You just take your knife, give it a little tweak, put it back in its sheath so you don't have that terrifyingly sharp edge exposed, and then put your whistle back on it so you don't lose your outdoor survival whistle. They're great. These are great. I absolutely love these. I hope that they take off. The guy that owns the company seems like a really, really, really good guy. So I'm wishing him all the success. And God, my shoulder is so bad I can't even lift up my thermos. I'm going to use my other arm. That's why we're not cutting things in the yard with the new sword. And if you guys came, if you want to see the sword, hang on a second. I'll show you what the sword looks like. I did get a new sword. It wasn't clickbait to try and get you guys to come. I got a sword cane. This is a cold steel. This is the cold steel heavy duty sword cane. I'm trying to pull it out carefully so I don't drag the edge down. It is a full-sized rapier style sword inside a cane. The editors, how are you? This thing is cool. I really dig it. I really, really dig this a lot. And like I said, as my buddy said, I live in an area where there's a lot of mountain lions and stuff, and I do take the dog for walks at night. So this is something that could feasibly be something I'm going to carry. As a matter of fact, when I go for a walk tonight, I'm going to take it with me. So yeah, there's been a lot of cool stuff happening on the channel. I've got another really cool fixed blade to show you, and I've had this for a long time. Else at Outdoor Element? It's Outdoor Element, not Elements, and I don't know any place where they're available other than there. It's a very cool little sword. I dig it. I'm going to use it as a cane way more often than I'm going to use this sword. Like probably 100% more of the time it's going to be used as a cane than it is as a sword. I am going to jam some packing peanuts down in it to prevent there's a little bit of movement in it, and I don't like it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some packing peanuts. I'm going to stuff it with packing peanuts and then cram them down in there and then put the blade in and punch through them just to hold them in there. Just to hold the sword in there a little bit more. I just don't want it rattling around. And here's the thing. I took martial arts for years, and they teach you how to use a sword for self-defense. Another really cool knife. Amazing, amazing knife. This was a gift from a guy on the channel. He has since passed away. And he gave me and my daughter a ton of stuff. He gave my daughter a bunch of silver coins. He sent a bunch of stuff. And he has since passed away. And I'm going to cherish this forever. This is actually my daughter's, but we basically have agreed that she doesn't carry it. I'm gonna. So this is a very, very cool full custom knife that was sent to me as a gift. This is a Morgan custom mother of pearl handles with a red liner and it's all been dovetailed, including the liner, and then carved. This is an incredibly cool little knife. And then it's got an incredibly cool little sheath with a pocket clip on it. Absolutely going to tell you that this is the reason that this knife exists. Why am I showing a knife? It's a knife channel, lad. Rab. It's why are showing a knife, lad. It's a knife channel. That's what we're talking about. Knives and swords. That knife inspired this to happen. Originally, these were all drop points. The first few of these I made were drop points. I got that knife. And then somebody asked me, my buddy asked me, he's like, can you turn that into a Wharncliffe? And I was like, you know what? I was already thinking about that. And I thought about that knife, and I'm like, it's a great, great Wharncliffe. This is... UK, Ireland knives don't usually have channels. I got news for you. That's not true. Paddy's potato peelers is an Irish dude in Ireland. There's a couple other channels that are sword channels that I follow. Shadiversity. Shadiversity, that's a sword and medieval combat channel on YouTube, and that dude's in England or Ireland. Is that a Boker? No. This is a artisan cutlery sea snake. This is the knife I designed. This is the knife I designed. As a matter of fact, I have a custom version of one of the ones that I made when I was still making knives. This is a full custom version of that knife. Much more expensive. As a matter of fact, it's about 8 times more expensive. This was for me to make this knife for my buddy, and it's here because I sharpened it for a video and things like that. The materials that are in it, the amount of time that went into it, making pins and everything, when I made this knife, this was about $700 with all the materials, handle material, the pins, making the pins, and all the time that went into... Hang on a second. See the pins. Made the pins. Kevlar. Those are Kevlar handles. All hand ground, all hand finished. So... That's not micarta, it's mosaic. So this is a great, great knife. I made it. This is my buddy Tino's version of that knife. Yeah, the pins. So the way you make those pins is you get all the stuff, and you get it. It's really kind of simple. It's just time consuming. You get all the stuff, and you get all the tubes, and you get all the pins, and you get all the flat pieces you want. Because I do believe, if I remember right, this has a square tube in it. Yeah, it does. So if you can see there, there's. Let me see. Can I? So you can see there's a square piece in there. Basically, you stack everything in it. Hang on, I'm trying to reverse it. You get the tube, and then you get all the pieces. You cut them all the same length, and then you put the pieces inside, and you fill it with pitch. You heat up the pitch, and you fill it with pitch, and push it down, and make sure it goes all the way through. And then you just cut it off, and you put the piece through, and you just cut it off flush where you need it, and then just sand it as a marriage point. And so this one has 3 pins in the middle, and then a tube, and then the square piece that's down in, so it looks like a diamond, and then on the outside it's got 2 pieces, 2 pieces, 2 pieces. You can kind of see it. So it's mosaic, but then this handle is Kevlar with wire in it. It's called lightning. It's called Thunderstorm Kevlar. So Kevlar handles, and then this is S125V steel at about 68 to 70 Rockwell. You can cut glass. You can cut glass with this knife. You really can. And if you don't believe me, I keep it here because every time I show this, people are just... I'm not going to do it with the edge because I don't have to resharpen it, but you can take right here and you can cut glass with it. So that means that this is well above 67 Rockwell. This is closer to 68 to 70 Rockwell. And it just amazes me when I do that. I just find that insane. So this was a custom heat treat, custom knife, custom finish, which is why this wound up being about a $700 knife, all told. But he had it. He got exactly what he wanted, including custom sheath with soft loops. But yeah. This is what kind of inspired it, because before that, those knives were all... Oh, where's the one I made? I made this one for my daughter. Also, carbon fiber handles, mosaic pins, hand ground, and she was into Star Wars when she was little, so it has the Rebel logo in the steel. So let's turn that around. I'll show you. This is a knife that is hers, but she doesn't have any place to keep it, so that is in the steel. That is the Rebel logo. in the steel. This was the second knife I ever made. Shredded carbon fiber handles with mosaic pins, and you can see there, you can see it real clearly. You can see the mosaic pins on this one a lot clearer. So I made the pins. Nope, it's not acid etched. I did not use any acid on this. This is 440C steel, so an acid etch wouldn't have done anything on it. I got creative, and I thought to myself, I did not ask any advice on how to do it. I was like, I bet. We had a bunch of little stickers. Little stickers that were the Rebel logo. They were like little plastic stickers. And I was there and I was like looking at these plastic stickers. And I was like, I bet if I put that on there and blast the blade, and then I'll have that area that's not blasted, but I wanted a finer finish. So what I did was I took the knife and I put it on a polishing wheel, and I got the finish that I wanted at a level of polish. Then I put the sticker on and I blasted the blade really heavily with a sandblasted it really, really heavily with garnet. Peeled the sticker off and then polished it again, which means that I removed enough material and maintained the higher polish that it is almost looks embossed, because it kind of is. It stands up a little bit proud, but you basically have the same finish on the entire knife, just an area where if you catch the light, the Rebel logo's in that. Like I said, then I had made the mosaic. I made the mosaic pins for this knife, and then used them because I knew I wanted to do it. Because at the time I had just quit my government job. I was retired from the military. I had just quit my government job, and my daughter's birthday was coming up, and I wanted to get her something, but I didn't have the money. But I did have all the stuff to make a knife. And all I did was buy the stuff, the copper and everything to make the pins. And I had a piece of carbon fiber that Elliot gave me. I took about 2 or 3 weeks to make this knife. And I was like, the cool thing is, this is something my daughter will have forever. And it's something I made for her. So this was the original. This is what was going to be all the knives. And then when somebody was like, hey, can you do a Wharncliffe? I drew the knife on a cardboard, and then I flipped the blade and drew it. If you look, it's the exact same shape. It's the exact same blade. Just put the blade on it backwards. Put the edge on that side. So it was a clever little way to get my daughter something for her birthday without having to spend any money. All I did was spend time. So I have a really special knife. One of the only knives I was ever issued in the military that I actually liked. I had the first. Now I don't know why I didn't, like, I kept this in a storage unit. So I didn't carry this all the other times. I had all the other knives that I carried downrange. This is a very, very old, very, very battle-worn cold steel SRK. I don't know what the coating was that they used on these things, but it was a beast. And if you look, this is one of the old school cold steels. Let's go ahead and flip this around. Backyard fun, country boy. I'm doing good. How are you guys? Look at that. This is cold steel, carbon V steel, made in the USA. This is an American-made cold steel SRK, still made in America on this one. And this is not a Secure X sheath. This is what their sheaths used to be. It's just a nylon sheath. I was in the Navy, so not really. Bayonets, I don't know. I wasn't in the Army. I was in the Navy. I mean, my last few years in the military, I was a dirt sailor. I fucking worked closely with Army guys, but I wasn't in the Army, so I really don't know. I was never given any bayonet training. And this is another knife that I was given that I absolutely love. This knife was given to me, Winston Cobretti. This is the L'Ascension fixed blade, and it was great. So was you like on a boat? Yeah, I was on a lot of boats. I also worked at an ordnance facility where I did the inventory management for all of the ordnance that was stored at the ordnance facility. 500,000 tons of ordnance I was directly responsible for. I'll issue and receipt of. Now I want you to think about how much a bullet weighs, and then think to yourself, how much is 500,000 tons of ordnance at any given time? I mean, we had a lot more than it. That was just the main facility. When I went out to the remote facility, that's where all the bombs were. That's where we kept 500-pound GP bombs, all that stuff. They were all on pallets, and that's where we kept a lot of the stuff. So it was actually a lot more than that. Actually, a lot more than 500,000 tons. That was 500,000 tons at the main facility. The remote facility had a lot more, but it was stuff that we didn't issue as often. So it was like 500-pound GP bombs and things like that. But yeah, this is the Acheron Knives L'Ascension, which is a really good self-defense knife that will fit in a pocket. Nice Kydex sheath. I'm getting a new one. This is the 5th one of these we've had on the channel. This is the only hat. And I mean, you can ask anybody that knows me, that's friends with me. I never take this hat off. I like, it's one of the first things, the hat goes on when I wake up, and it comes off when I go to bed. Very rarely do I have my hat off, unless I'm taking a shower. And people are like, "Oh, we're in the pool," and I'm like, I wear my hat in the pool mainly because I have a bald spot up here, and I don't want to sunburn it. But I've always worn a hat. I grew up on a farm, always wore a hat. Grew up in the country, always wore a hat. Military, always wear a hat. What's my favorite Civivi? My favorite Civivi. You know, that's a hard one. That's a hard one because I don't have a lot of Civivi knives, and I haven't reviewed a lot of Civivi knives. I have a lot of Wii knives that I love, but I don't think I really couldn't be able to tell you. What was that? You gotta tilt your hat up and more and bend inwards. What do you mean? At any rate, the fishhook. Somebody mentioned the fishhook. Fishhook as a knife touch. This is something that is, for me, a remembrance of my father who passed. When I was a kid, we used to fish religiously. We were part of the local fishing club, Three Rivers Bassmasters. We went bass fishing. We entered tournaments. Every chance we got to go fishing, my dad and I would be in the boat fishing. And these were sold, and he got a couple of them just as a gag. He got me one, and he got one for him. They were the Lucky fishing hook, and you were supposed to put it on your hat. Jesus, I don't take this thing off very often. Can you tell? And they were gold. You see there's a little bit of gold left on them. And I had one, and he had one. Right? So he had one, I had one. After he passed, I was going through stuff, and I happened to find this. And I was like, I got to get that out. I got to get that out, and I got to put it on my hat. And it has been on every hat that I've owned, that I wear every day for a lot of years now. And it's just one of those things that, like, no, my mom had to sell the boat because money got tight. She had some medical problems. Money got tight, and I couldn't help out. And so she sold the boat and the camper that we used to keep out on the lake at a place that, like, going out to the lake and staying out there for like the entire summer. And so she sold the boat and all this stuff. And it's so hard to fish out here in San Diego area. It's so expensive. It's not that it's hard. I could go, but for me to get a fishing license, it's expensive. And if you put a boat in the water, you got to pay a fee. And you got to pay a fee for every line that you. So if you're going to use more than one fishing rod, you got to pay for each fishing rod. It is so expensive that takes any amount of fun out of it. Like, I can't do it. I'm like, Jesus, for me to go out for a day of fishing, it would be just cheaper for me to just go and buy some fish and throw it on a grill. Like, it sucks all the fun of it when you have to look at, like, how expensive it is to do your hobby. It just sucks the fun out of it. Welcome to fucking California. That's just how it is. But yeah, this is a great little This is a great little self-defense knife. N6 N6. What do we like? N690 CO. So N6, it's N690 with cobalt in it. Yeah, I mean, it takes any enjoyment out of it when you're like, well, I'm going to go out fishing for the day, and it winds up being more expensive than if I just spent the day with my daughter up at an amusement park. It's actually cheaper the way I would fish. It is cheaper for me to take my daughter to Knott's Berry Farm and enjoy a day riding roller coasters than it is for me to spend a day fishing. And I would much rather spend that time with my daughter. Survive knives. Okay, I had some thoughts on Survive knives, and it's gonna wind up being the same scenario as this company. I'm pretty sure of it. Guy, I talked to him a couple times. Very, very talented knife maker. Very, very talented knife maker. Made incredible knives. But what happened was that he had to be involved in every fucking step of the process. And I believe there was some substance abuse issues going on somewhere. But he also had a very bad case of OCD. So he had to be involved with every piece of the process. And I kind of was like that when I first started making knives. When I would make these knives, I just got so frustrated one day. I came out from the grinding room into the shop, and my buddy Elliot, Fair and Forge Knife Works, he's the owner of the company. And he's like, "What the fuck's wrong with you?" I was like, "I just can't get this knife right." And he's like, "What?" I was like, "It's not right. It's just not perfect. I just can't get it the way I want." And the guy's paying like $500 for me to make this knife for him. And he was like, let me see it. And I handed it to him, and he's looking at it. And he's like, what? I don't get it. What? And I was like, the plunge, look at the plunge. He goes, "What's wrong with the plunge?" I was like, "It's not perfect." And he goes, "Look, I'm going to tell you." Bob Terzola was there that day too. He's like, "Bob, tell me if I'm wrong." He's like, "I'm going to tell you right now. There are three things. There are three stages of perfection in knife making." He's like, "There's good, there's perfect, and there's fucking good enough to sell." He's like, "Don't let perfect get in the way of making money." He's like, he's like, "If you handed me that knife as a professional knife maker, I see nothing wrong with it." And Bob Truzola's got the knife, and he's like, old Bob sitting there, and he's like, there's nothing wrong with this knife. He's like, you're spending hours back there trying to fix something that you're the only one that can see. And so I was like, I reached a point where like I would bounce things off Elliot. And I was like, "Elliot, am I done? Like, is this like, you tell me, am I good enough to sell?" And he goes, I was like, "Bro, you were good enough to sell. This was good enough to sell yesterday. I saw it laying, I picked it up, and I was like, Jesus, that is so good." I only made a few hundred knives, but the second knife I made, like Elliot, I handed Elliot when I made my daughter's knife, the little one that you saw. Where'd it go? 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 At any rate, the second knife I made, the little drop point that I made for my daughter with the logo in it, for Star Wars logo, and I handed it to Elliot, and I was like, "What do you think?" And he goes, "I think you may have found one of the things that you're incredibly good at." And I was like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "This is my second knife." He's like, "This is your second knife." I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "It's the second knife you've ever made." I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Bro," he's like, "I have never showed you the first 30 knives I've made." And I was like, "What do you mean?" He was like, "I can't show them to anyone. They're trash. The first 30 knives I made basically were throwaway knives." He's like, "That is the second piece of steel you put on a grinder." And he goes, "I would buy that." And he goes, "I don't." He's like, "You keep saying that I'm teaching you things." And he goes, "I haven't taught you a fucking thing." He's like, "I took you in a back room and I said, there's the grinder. Here's a piece of steel. Here's how you put the belt on. Here's how you adjust the tracking. This is how you adjust the speed. Don't fuck it up." Because that's all I did. He's like, "You made that knife." He's like, "I didn't teach you how to do anything." He's like, "I just showed you where the equipment was." So that was like a bolster to my, it was like, it definitely bolstered my confidence. And I went from making, and a lot of people joked about it, I went from making knives for a couple $100s to making extremely tedious, crazy heat treat knives with glow in the dark handles for some people that sometimes I went from making knives for maybe $100 to making $600 and $700 knives. And people are like, how did you not make money at that? The problem is it takes a long time to make a knife. $600 or $700 by the time you look at getting steel and getting materials and getting all that stuff and having it available, and then all of that, right? That's just raw materials. You're looking at a couple $100 in raw materials for like a handful of knives. But then you're looking at the time frame. It takes weeks to make a knife sometimes. It takes an entire 10 to 12 hour day just to do a heat treat. Then you got to do the grinding. Then you got to do finishing. And then you got to make handles. And then you got to get sheaths and things done. All right, Rab, I don't want to talk about that. Let's keep the chat like in an area where it's like I'm taking that down. I don't want remove that. I don't need like that's not what we're talking about. I feel bad for you, but like we're talking about other stuff. We're trying to have a good time, not make everybody sad and depressed. I feel bad for you, and if you are experiencing depression, reach out to someone, but you can't do it here. Your daughter's knife, 2 weeks, California minimum, 16 wage. That's yeah. It takes a couple weeks to get a knife completely done. I was making knives at a loss. I was sharpening and refinishing knives, like doing complex refinishes. Like this is a two-tone anodizing. You can see there's some bronze in there. It looks like an old penny, or like patinaed, like the Statue of Liberty, where you can see some bronze showing through. That takes some work. It takes all day. I would do complex refinishes where I would do ceramic, and I'd do a really fine. Sean Brockman, it's not that. I want everybody to have a good time. I just don't want people like to sit here and have to yeah. It's not Mr. Cancel Culture. It's moderating the chat so that everybody gets to enjoy it. It's not. If this might not be the live feed for you, then Sean Brockman, because I am a staunch America First kind of person, and I don't believe in cancel culture, but I also don't believe that I shouldn't have to burden everyone in the chat with things that are not dealing with this, and it feeds it up, and people get fed up, and then they stop commenting. So also, yeah, so that they're not blocked, because everybody's going to watch this live feed later with comments. So, Sean Brockman, once again, your political opinions, they're great to have. Absolutely agree that you should have them. But they're a lot like your penis when you're at somebody's house, which you are, keeping them in your pants. That's why I tried. This isn't a political channel. This isn't a self-help channel. This is a channel for people that are enjoying blades and things. So I apologize if that offends your sensitivities, but yeah, I do. That's why channels have moderators. It keeps the chat from going off the rails and other people getting upset and losing some viewers because the chat becomes unmanageable and unfun. So you're more than welcome to stick around, or you could leave, because I don't fucking care. You know what? There we go. I just choose not to deal with it. Here's the thing. It's my channel. It's like being at my house. If I don't like you and I don't like what you got to say, I don't have to listen to it. But because my other guests at my house are here, maybe you should find somebody else's house to hang out at. So, and yes, I blocked you. Goodbye. It's not about cancel culture. It's about protecting my channel and doing what I want, and enjoying talking with people. Let's see here. Yeah, some people just okay. I'm gonna impart something to you guys, and that guy's probably gonna go and complain about me on a forum somewhere or say some shit, and I really don't care. I've learned over the years of having been in the military, my adult life, and everything. You can't argue with a stupid person, because no matter how well you're doing, it's like playing chess with a pigeon. No matter how well you're doing, eventually the pigeon is going to take a shit on the board and then strut around like it won anyway. So it's fucking go to Twitter. It's not about counter culture. It's about, I just don't want to have to read that, and I really don't want other people to read it. And I don't think this is a place for politics. There are places where politics don't need to be. Personal politics, personal shit, it's, fuck it. But I honestly do. Where'd he go? Rab, you can hang out. I'm not. I was crazy. Sorry. I know Lion Steel got so much hate for soft heat treat, but they've been made big changes without anybody without telling anybody for the past few years. The Lion Steel, this Lion Steel that I got is great. This one's in Nylox and it takes an insane edge. Ooh, you made a glaive. Oh, I love ancient swords. So if you don't know, the glaive is, I believe that was the glaive was like the Greek or the Spartans. I can't remember who made it, but it was an older, it was an older, it was an ancient sword. I think the glaive was like, I can't remember. At any rate, nice position for the mic. It's just, it was humid. It was humid, and I didn't want to put the lavalier mic on because the cord runs in and it just feels sticky. Now it's the sun's come up, it's nowhere near as humid. But yeah, this is a great knife. It's a Nylox. It takes incredibly good edge, and it's really it's a beast. My buddy took it camping, and he was like, yeah, we were batoning through stuff with it. Buck knives. Do buck knives still make good steel? Their steel heat treat's usually really good. I have here somewhere. I was pretty sure I had it out. Did we talk about it already? I have a couple buck knives that I really like. I've got one in particular. I have a buck 119 special that a friend of mine bought. It's in here somewhere. There it is. Buck 119 special. Their heat treat is usually pretty good. Buck is a company a lot like Cold Steel that can take steels that typically would be considered substandard steels and doing like incredibly good heat treats with them. So this is a knife that my dad had one, and it was one of the only things in the house. His Buck 119 special was one of the only things in the house that I was not allowed to just up and grab and use. Bow and arrow, we could use. I could use these bow and arrow. I could use any of the rifles to go hunting, any of that stuff, anytime I wanted. And this people are like, oh, you didn't have your guns locked up? I was like, no, I knew the punishments for mistreating a firearm. So I was like, I had access to the shotguns. I had access to the rifles. I could go out hunting anytime I want. This was one of the only things that I was never allowed to use was his Buck 119. And it's because his dad got it for him as a graduation present. And it had a really special place. He did not want me abusing it. And so he had one. Now I have one that was a gift from a subscriber. And it's absolutely still a great knife. Absolutely still a great knife. People shit on it. They're like, oh, the blade's going to break off. I was like, it does not. If you mistreat any knife, you could break it. Ask Joe X. Go watch his videos. But this came in, and I really understand why he loved it so much. It is one of those knives that just, like this big ass handle on it, perfect blade. It's got a Bowie style, like outdoor style blade on it. And the heat treat on this is insane. This is one of the sharpest knives I own. This is one of the sharpest knives I own. It's got some of the best heat treat, and it's 420 steel. It's 420C. It's not 420J. 420J is garbage. This is 420, not 440. Hollow grind. It holds an edge really well. And they're not that expensive. This is an under $100 knife. Buck still does make a very good knife. And then, like I said, the comfort level in the handles on this knife, that's one of the things that gets overlooked in fixed blades is how comfortable is that handle? Well, triple XL gloves. On a lot of knives, I feel that the handle is too thin to do a lot of work. You're going to fatigue the muscles in your arm. You're going to have these muscles get tired from flexing down on that something like this, I don't have to engage those muscles anywhere near as far, and I can keep a comfortable grip because it's bigger. Up with a rope. If you got a thin rope, it's really hard to hold on to. It makes it miserable and your hands get tired. If you've got a thicker rope, you can do a lot more pulling. Same thing with this. You don't fatigue the muscles in your hand as much. It's great. It's got a really good balance. Buck still makes a very, very good knife. Love your knife collection out of every, it's so cool. And we haven't even scratched the surface of what all's here. I did a video, just the 32 knives in this case are over like $10,000 in this knife case. It's over here. And then all these fixed blades, I couldn't even do the math on what I've got. I've probably got, so my buddy Tino and I were talking about it. And we were looking at everything. All told here at the house, I've probably got all my stuff that's locked up and shit like that too. Probably $30,000 or $40,000 worth of knives here at the house. I have more knives at my house than most sporting goods stores. I really do. I have more knives than a knife counter at Cabela's. I do. There's just no doubt about it. You can't tell me that you're going to go to a store other than a knife store, like a big one, like Smoky Mountain Knife Works. You're not going to find, my buddy said this too. He's like, you've got more knives than any outdoors sporting goods store I've ever been to. Like at your house, you have them. There's just shelves of knives. There's milk crates full of knives in the other room. I have a storage unit that has old knives that I go and I literally just go with a bunch of stuff and I wipe them all down. How do you catalog them? Spreadsheet? No. I just keep like a running tally of what, like this was like a $200 knife. This is like a $210 knife. These are $300. And I just, like, it's just a rough estimate. You just look at it and then you just kind of tally it up on a calculator. But at any rate, then I've got some other stuff that has come in recently. Oh, hey, check out, look what I found. I have my old, we're not gonna dig this out. Everybody knows what a K-bar looks like. This is my, my USN K-bar, and you can tell by the way it looks. You smell bullshit? Maybe it's your upper lip. Bro, just what we've looked at today, you're looking at thousands of dollars worth of knives. These are about $250. These were about $250. This is at least $200, depending on what you got. This is $300. This is $400. So right here, 2, 4, 6, 9, well over, that's just $1,000 worth of knives right there. So you can say you smell bullshit all you want. But guess what? It might just be your breath. I'm sorry, that was rude. That was rude to a new guest. Darwin, I apologize. I apologize. That was rude. That was rude. But like when I get called out on something that I know, then I usually will reciprocate in kind. So just right there, and that's not counting the fact that these were $250. I think I paid $400 for this one. God only knows what this custom fixed blade cost, because I didn't buy it, it was a gift. So you figure at least for a custom of this caliber, you're looking at between $300 and $600. So cut the difference, $400, $500. There's a lot of steel here at this house. Not counting the fact that there's folding knives everywhere. I do have a few antiques. How do you price those? I don't. I don't even worry about that because it's not something I would ever get rid of and sell. I have some antique stuff that was my dad's. I have some antique slip joint folding knives that I've got. I have some stuff that is not here, but it's in Ohio that was my grandfather's from World War II, knives that he had and things like that. I've got a couple. Here's the thing. I got a couple swords that I had made that are well over a couple $1,000s each. And I have a sword that was a gift from my father-in-law that was a battle-carried katana that was like from like the 15 or 1600s. So all of that in account, like there's a lot of money tied up in some of that stuff. But I do have to say, a lot of this stuff was not stuff that I purchased. A lot of this stuff has come. Here's another one. These were $350 or $400. So yeah, there's a lot of material, and there's still other stuff that I had. There's knives that I don't even. There's knives you guys haven't even seen. Like let's see if I can. If the audio changes, I will fix it. But like, there's stuff that we haven't even like looked at that are wrong way. Like these shelves are all full of knives. It's all full of knives. There's a couple of knife rolls down here that are worth, that have like, there's like 3 knife rolls down here, and they've got about 32 knives in each of them. I spend a lot of time in the studio, so I keep deodorant out here in case I start to get stinky. But that's all knives. That's all knives. It's just, did the audio change? I'm just curious how much I can get away with on jiggling these cords. Let me know if the audio changed. Antiques are weird. Antiques are weird and hard to price. So, but guys, it's been like 2 hours, and like I said, I wasn't planning on doing a live feed. Well, I wasn't planning on doing a live feed, and then the sword cane showed up, and then, if you were a knife, what kind would you be? I'd be that rusty old butcher knife that nobody uses it very often except one person in the house, but nobody gets rid of it because it's like the best knife for the all around stuff that one person does. Like I'm like that knife that your grandfather always goes to the knife block and gets, and you're like, God, he's gonna cut that up with that rusty old dirty carbon steel. Yeah, I'm that knife. To be accurate, I'm this knife. I'm an old rusty butcher knife. If I was a knife, this would be me. Beat up, rusty, doesn't, like, nobody's going to go out of their way to do it, but when you use it, you're like, God damn, does that work well? That's me. That's me. This was one of my father's hunting knives, like for when we, after hunting. This was a knife that we used for butchering deer. It's an old, what is this? This is an Ontario boning knife. And there's notches that are cut in it, that I cut in it for the deer that I cut the notches in this. Those are deer that I got and then butchered. I cut those notches in this. My mom brought this to me when she came out here that time. This was one of my dad's knives from the butchery kit. So yeah, I got a lot of. There's so much stuff here. There's knives. I have knives that I forget that I even own. Like every once in a while I'll be going through something. I was like, oh shit, I forgot I had that. I look like your dad. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for you, because that means that if I look like your dad, that you look like me, and my apologies. That's no me gusto. So, yeah. What else we got here? I have a lot of stuff. I'll show you guys once again. I'll show you the most expensive knife I own. Well, that's not true. That's not true. There's 2 of them. I'll show you the other one too. Well, that's weird. Pretty bummed about that. I look like my father, and everybody's like, when I was a kid, they're like, oh, he looks like his dad. And they're like, you look just like your father. And I'm like, my poor daughter. This is a $1,200 knife. This is technically the most expensive knife I own. These were a collaboration with Elliot Williamson. No, I don't like any Gerbers, really. I do have a Gerber that would be on the list of some of the best all time, but that video is coming out soon, and I don't want to kind of disturb it with that, but I do have a Vietnam era knife, a thing like that. This is a knife that my buddy Tino and my buddy Nico got together with Elliot Williamson, and they had this knife made for me. So these knives, for the base blind, the base model knife were no, they were 600. So there was a run of 100 of these. There's only 100 of these that existed, that were generally sold. This is, I think, number 102, because Elliot made one for himself and then I got one. But this is hand carved. So the knives were $600 baseline price just for the knife. And then for all the customized carving that was done by hand, I saw it. And at any rate, so this was all carved by hand. That is a copper. I'll turn this around so you guys can see it better. That is a copper inlay that was left proud, and it was carved down, and it was done in Elliot's Giger-esque, like aliens biomech fashion that he knows I love. And to have this hand carving done usually was about $600 to get them hand carved. So $600 plus six, let's say $1,200 knife. And then this was a knife that I saved for 5 years to get. This is my Grimsmo Norseman, and I don't know how well you guys are gonna be able to see it. I did a custom anodizing on it where it's two-tone blue. There's two different blue colors on that. And then I orange peeled the pocket clip and did it a little bit darker, almost a royal blue, like a purple, as opposed to the rest of the body of the blade. But at any rate, these are about $1,000. That's what I paid for this one. That's what I paid for this one. I found exactly the one I wanted. I found how I found the pattern I wanted. I found in the serial number range I wanted. And so I got exactly what I wanted on the secondary market. And after tax and shipping, I think this was just about $1,000. But I've always wanted one of these. This is one of my favorite knives of all time. I love this thing. I have to keep it in its case because what happens is I carry this and it's such a good knife that I use it, and then I have to sharpen it, and I am just going to wind up wasting away this knife. It's not going to be, I'm just going to wear it out. And so I'm like, I can't afford a new blade for this. So I don't know. I don't know if I could. Well, we'd have to find out. But I do. I carry this. I love this knife. It's a great, great knife. It is one of the best knives ever to be made, in my opinion, because it's really versatile, even though it is ugly, like very ugly. So yeah, Grimsmo knives. And the nice thing about these guys is, even though I got this on a secondary market, I've had problems that they've addressed under their warranty, even though I'm not the one that bought this knife. Like I'm not the original purchaser of this knife, and they know it. Do I have a karambit knife? I do have a karambit knife. It's down here in this. I need to put this other knife away anyway, so it's a good thing that I have this out. This needs to get put away. Give me a second, and I will get out said karambit. It's not here. I let someone borrow it yesterday. I apologize. I do not have it here. It is. I don't think. Did he pick it up? If it's not in there, it's no. There it is. It is. He has not picked it up yet. I couldn't remember if he picked it up. I have a karambit. I have a Wee Knives Incisor. It's not my preferred of the like self-defense style knives. I much prefer. I took it out of my pocket. I much prefer a Pikal. We talked about it earlier. I have a folding Pikal. Hey Panzer, what's going on, bud? How you been? I much prefer a Pikal versus a karambit, because instead of having to go this way, I'm going this way, which is a much more natural, intuitive motion of a stab and drag, like a hammer fist and drag kind of thing. But I do have a karambit, and I know how to use it, and I would feel comfortable using it, much more comfortable using this, a folding Pikal. And like I showed earlier, this thing absolutely is just a beast. It waves right off your pocket so easily that then you just have it. And even if it doesn't wave, if you happen to get it and it doesn't open, you've got a striking implement. Still it's devastating. Like if you, because it's got that thumb pad, you could just club somebody in the temple with that, and I guarantee they're gonna let you go. So guys, my wife is home. I haven't checked on my daughter. She's over at the school campus. I try not to bring these past 2 hours. It seems to be one of those things where it just, like, people just lose interest. So, stands 2. My favorite knife was the Karim. Oh, okay. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and end this. As much fun as I'm having, we can do this later in the week. And my shoulder's starting to hurt, and I got to take some medicine for my shoulder. It's really, really bothering me. I'm gonna have to have surgery again on this shoulder. This will be number 5, and I think I'm just gonna tell him just fucking do a shoulder replacement. Like, I am so tired of this thing just constantly hurting. It hurts every minute of the day, and I'm pretty fucking fed up with it. So, guys, that's it. I'm gonna get all this stuff put away so that my wife doesn't come out here and be like, "What the fuck happened out here?" As there are literally knives everywhere out here. But I will show you the Gerber right before we go. I'll show you the Gerber that I think is the Gerber to end all Gerbers. Well, the original one was. This is the Gerber Mark II, designed by Bud Holzman. It is a more modern version of the Sykes-Fairbairn dagger. Not quite as good, in my opinion, as the Fairbairn, Applegate Fairbairn knife. I think that's a better knife, but like, if you're looking at a knife that really, really stood out Vietnam era, this is it. 1966, first production run of these. They are an incredible knife. This is a newer version of it, but they are amazing. If you want to see a piece of history, there is a video going up about this. I finished the edit. It will go up this week. It'll go up this week. I'm not a butterfly knife guy. I don't have any butterfly knives here. It's the only Gerber I have. I hate Gerber. I used to love Gerber, and then they sold their company and all their knives went to shit. So I don't have any other Gerbers. And this one isn't even mine. This one is not even mine. So, yep, the Gerber Mark II dagger was a very sought after weapon for the Special Forces guys in Vietnam. This is part of my buddy's collection, along with a couple other knives, because he's building a shadow box, because his dad was a Green Beret. So his dad was a Green Beret in Vietnam era. So a lot of the knives that you see, like the Mac V SOG, the Gerber Mark II, and some other really, really famous fighting knives are going to be in that, because those were knives that were issued to him as a Green Beret as part of MAC. So he was part of the Military Assistance Command. He was in Europe for most of the Vietnam War, so he didn't spend much time in MAC V. MAC V, he was in MAC E, the MAC East, so he wasn't part of SOG until much later in that era. So, but it is cool to have something like this here. And he has the original version. There's a video going up, but the originals had a 5-degree cant. I couldn't tell by the Cyrillic in your username, my friend. I'm not even going to try and pronounce that. I could tell that you were from Russia. So, at any rate, so I show you, this is probably the video you're going to see tomorrow, the video about this knife. So, I just have to make a thumbnail for it. But, all right, guys, I'm out of here. I love you. It's been an hour, and it's been 133 minutes, just a little over 2 hours. So, I will talk to you guys later. I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to go talk to my wife, and I'm going to find out what's going on with my kid over at the school, at the campus, and see if she got everything figured out. She's trying to figure out how to get a locker there at the college campus so she doesn't have to take as much stuff to and from. So that's it, guys. I love you all, and I'll see you next time. Watch the video that goes up tomorrow, and if you want to watch more of my stuff, over 3,000 videos on this channel. There was a video that went up 2 days ago. I put up 3 videos a week, typically, and a couple of live feeds. So at any rate, I'll see you guys next time.